You're listening to Tongue of the Serpent, Season 3. Tonight's episode is called Ashes and Invitations. Morning comes to the crew of the Morningstar with a light that feels more like a ghost than a sunrise. A velvet box appears on the altar with no sender, no warning, and something inside it is trying to remember how to breathe. While the house listens, a porcelain doll arrives with someone else's memories. And in a quiet room in the Maroney, Sister Mercy opens a prayer book she swore she'd never touch again. The house is awake. The house is listening. Let the story begin. Sunlight spills through the front windows of the crew of the Morningstar, but it is not an ordinary morning. The light slides in like a ghost, checking its reflection, thin and gray, the kind of light that tastes of fog and memory. Outside, the city hums under a shroud of mist, but inside the shop, the silence has weight. The house is awake. The house is listening. Old places develop their own kind of quiet, a practiced stillness, as if they've rehearsed being normal for centuries. The ceiling fan above turns slow as a compass needle, stirring air that has already been breathed by older ghosts. The bell over the door has remained mute for 23 minutes, though Lucy and Devereaux, of course, is not counting. Somewhere in the back, porcelain clinks together without falling, like chess pieces moving themselves on an invisible board. Lucian cuts a figure from another century. Red hair, neat beard, and a black waistcoat that fits like a secret. The air around him hums with quiet authority, as if even the dust in the shop waits for his permission to settle. He is trying to catalog a dagger that refuses to stay under blade. Every time he writes it down, the entry shifts body, birthright, or once in a spidery crawl, simply yours. He scratches it out again, muttering under his breath, as though that might convince the ink to obey. From behind the curtain, Evelyn's voice drifts through like the first line of a dream. Lucian! He closes the ledger with a sigh, a sound that feels heavier than paper.
Yes, dear heart.
A pause just long enough to make the air lean in. Did you order anything wrapped in celestial wax? He frowns.
I beg your pardon?
Evelyn steps through the curtain barefoot, as if crossing an unseen border. Pale honey hair, storm blue velvet, and river glass eyes lend her an unearthly grace, like someone who's stepped out of a painting still wet with light. In her hands, a box about the size of a human heart. Gray-blue velvet stitched with silver thread, sealed with a wax stamp that shimmers even in shadows. No insignia, just a pressure, a gaze. Lucian's breath leaves him in a measured exhale.
No, I did not.
It was sitting on the altar in the back, Evelyn says softly. No delivery, no one at the door, just there. Lucian runs a thumb along the seal. It is warmer than it should be. It hums, Evelyn adds. She isn't wrong. A low resonance pulses beneath the velvet, like a heartbeat hiding inside a music box. It's not hostile, but it isn't familiar either. It feels exiled. With a cautious flick, Lucian breaks the seal. The box opens itself. Inside, Folded in storm-colored silk lies something large and ovular, not crystal, not stone, a thing out of myth or cathedral. Its surface veined with lightning, trapped in amber, textured with fine feathers, sealed beneath glass-like glaze. It pulsed faintly with light, faintly with life, an egg, though no birds. Something inside it is stirring, as if remembering how to breathe. A single white feather lies beside it, like an afterthought. Lucian takes one deliberate step back.
Oh, absolutely not.
Evelyn's voice is barely above a whisper. It's beautiful. He glances at her sharply. She hasn't moved, but something in her posture has softened, as though the air around her has shifted, as though the egg recognizes her or remembers her.
Don't touch it.
Lucian says more sharply than he intended. I wasn't going to, she replies, but her voice sounds far away, like someone halfway into a dream. It doesn't want to be touched. They stare at it. The egg glows faintly, throwing shadows across the counter that don't quite match their owners. Lucian rubs his jaw.
Do we think it's a threat? A trap? A cosmic apology?
Evelyn blinks slowly, as though waking from a long nap. It's none of those.
It's from him, isn't it?
Lucian asks. She nods once. He pinches the bridge of his nose.
Of course it is.
Evelyn lifts the velvet, not the egg, just the fabric under it. In the seam where the silk bunches near the corners, a line of nearly invisible thread spills out. Some debts cannot be repaid, only carried. Lucian reads it, then pours himself a glass of absinthe. Evelyn doesn't move. Her eyes stay on the egg. It's a soul, Lucian.
I was afraid you would say that.
It's not born, not really, but it's waiting. He drinks deeply.
They always are.
Silence thickens. The air hums. The house listens. Lucian reaches for the ledger again. This time he doesn't write. He turns to a fresh page and leaves it blank. She remembers what I don't. The doorbell rang softly, almost apologetically, as if the house had been holding its breath and was now forced to exhale. A young woman stepped inside, cradling a porcelain doll that looked far too old and far too knowing. The doll's lace dress was the color of old bones. Its pale blue glass eyes were cracked like river ice, as though they'd been watching the world too long and finally fractured under the strain. Hi, the woman said, hesitating in the doorway. I was told you might be able to unbind something. Lucian doesn't look up right away. He took another sip of absinthe, closed the ledger with the careful precision of a man closing a door on a nightmare, and said,
Possibly. But first, tell me what she remembers, and what she refuses to forget.
The woman blinked, startled. You mean the doll?
I mean her.
Lucian said. Evelyn's voice, quiet but assured, floated from the shadows. You can come in. The table's clear. The woman moved toward the reading table near the front windows. Morning light poured across the surface in watery patches, illuminating the fine cracks in the doll's ceramic face. She sat carefully, setting the doll in her lap like a child who might wake if jostled. Lucian remained at the counter, watching with the stillness of a blade held just above the skin.
Start at the beginning.
The woman exhaled, as though loosening a knot she'd been carrying under her ribs. I found her at an estate sale, a little town in Mississippi. The house had been empty for years. Everyone said the woman who lived there, Maribel, had been a spiritualist, held seances, tried to bring her daughter back. Evelyn's fingers twitched ever so slightly at the word seance, but she said nothing. The woman went on. I didn't think much of it. I just felt like the doll needed to come with me. And at first it was fine, sweet even. She always ended up in my room, even when I left her in the kitchen, or in a box in the attic. Lucian gave a quiet, unsurprised hum. But then she started to whisper, the woman said, not out loud, more like in my head. Memories that weren't mine. A room with red curtains, a girl crying in a language I don't know. Something about a locked trunk. Evelyn leaned forward slightly, her tone velvet soft. Has she ever tried to speak through you? The woman hesitated. Once I had a dream. I was walking through a field of lilies, and my mouth was saying things I didn't understand. When I woke up, I'd written a letter in someone else's handwriting. It started, Dear Mama, I'm still here. Lucian set down his glass.
And now?
She's quiet, the woman said, but waiting. She watches people who walk past the windows. I think she's looking for someone. Lucian's eyes narrowed.
She remembers what you don't.
Yes.
And what about you?
He asked.
What are you trying to forget?
The woman looked down at the doll, her fingers curled protectively around its rigid, tiny hands. I lost someone too, she whispered. Not a child, not mine, but someone I should have saved. The house held its breath again. Lucian finally nodded.
We'll see what we can do.
Evelyn rose from her seat. We'll keep her overnight. There's a mirror upstairs that shows origin stories. If she's willing, we can ask it to reflect hers. The woman looked reluctant to go, but after a moment, she kissed the doll's forehead and passed her over. Thank you, she said. Lucian's voice softened, taking on an almost priestly cadence.
Don't thank us yet.
The woman left, the door closing with a sigh. Lucian placed the doll beneath the counter, near the egg. The two artifacts did not speak, but the air shifted, faint as an unseen hand brushing the curtains, as if the old soul recognized the unborn one, as if stories knew each other by scent. He returned to the ledger, opening a new page, and wrote, Porcelain Girl, Bound Memory, Possible Origin Tether, Grief Unresolved, Room 3, No Mirrors After Dark. Then he glanced at Evelyn, who stood quietly beside him, still watching the egg.
You know,
he said,
some mornings I wonder if we run the shop or the shop runs us.
Evelyn smiled faintly. You always say that after a soul shows up. He nodded once.
And I always mean it.
Ashes in the prayer book. Morning light slanted through Sister Mercy's old room in the Maroney, catching on dust motes that drifted like slow ghosts. Once it had been a place of quiet devotion. Now the air felt thin and haunted, as if every breath remembered what was lost. The room itself had hardly changed. But Mercy had. Once she had stood in violet robes, heavy with embroidery, the order's sigils stitched like constellations down her sleeves. Now she wore softer colors, hair unbound, a dark dress cinched at the waist. A tray of fresh scones rested in her hands, the scent of cinnamon and clove rising like an old hymn. The air here was quieter than the rest of her house, less curious, like the room itself still knew how to keep secrets. She crossed to the little desk by the window, where a stack of books sat just as she'd left them. The topmost was a black leather-bound prayer book, faded and finger-worn. She hadn't opened it since the fire. Not the one that ended the order, another, smaller blaze, personal, seared into her ribs. She had been 17 then, still new to the convent, still half girl, half faith. In the West Dormitory, there had been another novice, Sabrina, sharp-eyed, soft voice, smelling faintly of lavender even when her hands bled from scrubbing tiles. They shared whispered devotions and stolen crusts of bread. Sabrina had taught her how to knot sigils into thread and to weave small miracles into the hems of robes. The night the fire started, Mercy had woken to smoke and the sound of wood sighing apart. Sabrina never screamed. Mercy remembered only the light. The door cracked open, flames licking the rafters, Sabrina still kneeling by her little altar. One look passed between them, and then the smoke took her. The memory arrived like a cold hand on her spine, sudden and whole. Mercy shuddered, set the tray down, and opened the book. A scorched scrap of vellum slipped free. The ink still held.
Bound not by blood, but by breath, kept not in a cage, but in skin. She is mine, protect her, even from me.
Her own handwriting, her own sigil sealed in wax, but she didn't remember writing it. The scent of beeswax and burnt sugar crept through the air, old magic, vigil smoke. Mercy turned toward the closet. Behind its door waited the past. The old robes, a cracked mirror, a wooden box without a key. Then came the sound. A melody, half lullaby, half lament. A child's voice, small and frightened. "Mama?" The air thickened. The candle flame bent sideways towards the closet door. Mercy pressed a charm to her chest, her hand trembling.
I don't remember,
she whispered, but the house did. The room seemed to breathe with her, remembering what she had tried to forget. She replaced the vellum between the pages and closed the book.
She is mine,
she murmured.
Protect her, even from me.
Then she left the room without looking back. The candle stayed lit, and behind the closet door, the lullaby kept singing softly to itself. The egg listens. It was just past noon when the light turned sharp and gold, catching in the glass like trapped fire. Outside, the city shimmered in heat, the air too bright to hold a shadow. Inside the crew's back room, a hush lingered, less silence than held breath. Evelyn sat alone with the egg, and even the dust seemed to wait. Evelyn sat cross-legged on the floor beside the angel egg. It rested on a shallow altar of velvet, feathers, and bone, nestled like something sacred, something not yet asked to choose if it would become a blessing or a burden. She reached for it without touching, hands open and empty. "You don't have a name yet, do you?" The egg pulsed faintly. "I suppose that's fair," she said. "Names carry weight." She looked down at her palms. Her fingers, though slender, bore faint burns, old wounds from younger fires. "I had 2 sons," she said, "once." The egg didn't glow, not yet. It listened. "I don't talk about them much. People only remember the tragedy, the curse. They forgot there was love first." The egg brightened gently. "Cain was loud," she said with a small smile, "always full of questions, always climbing too high. Abel was softer. He would sing to the sheep, even when no one was listening." Her voice caught for a moment. "We were happy for a time, Adam and I, in our way. The world was new, and we were still pretending we understood it." The egg pulsed. "I would tuck them in at night, one on each side. Cain always wanted a story. Abel just wanted to be held." The egg's glow turned golden, soft like candlelight on skin. Evelyn exhaled slowly. "And then the offering." The glow dimmed. She didn't continue for a long moment. When she did, her voice was quieter. "The Creator asked for gifts. Cain brought grain, Abel a lamb. The Creator praised Abel, not Cain, and Cain—" Her breath trembled. "I should have seen it. I should have known what jealousy can do, what it becomes when left to rot." The egg dimmed further, like clouds crossing the sun. "Abel died," she whispered, "and with him, something in me broke. I blamed Adam. I blamed the Creator." She looked away. "And so I was cursed to wander, to remember." A silence bloomed, thick as morning. "I buried Abel beneath a fig tree," she said almost too softly to hear. "It withered the next day. I left a toy lamb by the roots, his favorite. It vanished before nightfall. Maybe that was the Creator taking even that. Or maybe it was Cain trying to undo what he did." She wiped her eyes. "I hated them for years." The egg pulsed, not brightly, but steadily. "I haven't forgiven the Creator," she added, voice low, "and I'm not sure I ever will." The egg's light fluttered, uncertain. She leaned closer. "I don't know what you are. I don't know if you understand, but I think you feel." She touched the air just above the egg's surface. "I hope you never have to grieve, but if you do, I hope you remember this. Love makes us, even when it breaks us." A long silence passed, then the egg brightened, golden and warm, and just for a moment, Evelyn swore she saw something stir inside. Not a form, not a face, just motion, like a dream beginning to take shape. She sat back and was about to say more when a gentle knock tapped twice on the frame of the open door. Lucian. Evelyn stood slowly, brushing the wrinkles from her skirt, when Lucian stepped into the room. He leaned in the doorway, hands in his vest pockets, expression carefully unreadable.
"We have a customer,"
he said.
"A parent, looking for a gift for the daughter. She just told them she wants to become a witch."
Evelyn raised an eyebrow. "That's bold."
Apparently, the announcement didn't go over well at first. There were some tears, harsh words.
He shifted slightly, the weight of that familiar pain ghosting across his features.
But the customer came here to make amends. Said he wanted to show they accept her. He asked if we had something meaningful, something to say, I believe you, I love you.
Evelyn's expression softened. That's rare and lovely. Lucian gave a short nod.
I thought maybe you could help them pick something real but gentle.
I will. Just let me wash my hands first. She flexed her fingers, then glanced back at the glowing egg. I've been reminiscing. Lucian's eyes flicked toward it, and for a moment his posture changed, not tense exactly, but alert.
I felt it.
He said softly.
Just a flicker.
It listens, she replied. He held her gaze a moment longer, then stepped back into the hallway.
I shall stall him with questions about incense until you arrive.
A few minutes later, Evelyn stepped through the curtain into the shop's main room. The customer was standing near the reading table, a hand nervously resting on a display of silver pendants, serpents, pentacles, and moons. They looked up as Evelyn approached. A man in his early 50s, maybe, wearing a smart wool coat over a faded parent weekend shirt. Their hands fidgeted with the edge of a gift bag they hadn't yet filled. Evelyn, she said gently. Lucian said you're looking for something special. The customer nodded, eyes flicking from her to the shelves and back again. It's my daughter, he said. She's 16. She came out as a witch last week. A small, strained laugh came out. That's how she put it. Evelyn tilted her head. And you didn't respond well. I didn't respond at all, really. Just stared at her and said, that's ridiculous. And then she cried and locked herself in her room, and He looked away. I realized I hadn't been listening, not for a long time. Evelyn gestured toward a case near the back. Come with me. Inside the case sat a row of items not priced, not labeled, only tagged with handwritten notes like, clears the air, finds what's hidden, for courage in quiet places. Evelyn reached in and picked up a small vial. The glass was smoky purple, stopped with wax, a tiny feather bound to its neck. This is storm water, she said. Collected during the spring equinox, it's used to wash away fear, to prepare a space for truth. The customer reached for it, hesitated. Would she know what to do with it? She'll learn, Evelyn said, but more than that, she'll know what you meant by giving it. She placed it in the customer's hands, firm and kind. Tell her you're listening now, that you want to understand, even if you don't yet. Lucian reappeared at the register.
I added a copy of Herbs and Hexes for Young Hands to the bag,
he said casually.
A beginner's grimoire. Some pages are illustrated, some pages are dangerous.
Evelyn chuckled, only mildly. The customer smiled, the corners of their eyes wet. Thank you, both of you. Lucian wrapped the vial in soft paper.
And tell her the shop sends its regards, and that we will be here if she ever wants to visit.
As the customer left, the bell over the door rang gently, but to Evelyn, it sounded more like a chime in a chapel. She turned back toward the hallway, her eyes drifting unbidden toward the back room where the angel egg rested. Be kind, she whispered, as if to the world itself. The world isn't always. Behind her, the egg pulsed once, and somewhere, deeper in the house, deeper in the bones of the crew, a breath was held and not released. A knock at the veil. Late afternoon pressed against the windows, storm clouds thickening until the light itself seemed to pray. The candle from that morning still burned, steady and small. Mercy hadn't meant to return. She'd tried to forget the vellum, but the memory clung to her skin like soot. Now she sat in the parlor, hands folded as though she didn't trust them. Rain tapped the glass. Warning, not yet fury. The prayer book lay open beside her, untouched. She is mine. Protect her, even from me. The words echoed like heartbeat and guilt. Her gaze drifted to the tall mirror by the fireplace, a relic from the order, its silvering etched with runes and lilies. She rarely looked at it anymore. The reflection felt like a stranger wearing her face. Still, she looked. The mirror blinked half a beat behind her. Then the candle went out. No wind, no flicker, just gone. Cold crept in, the kind that lived in lightless places. Mercy reached for the match when a voice brushed her neck. You left the door open. She froze. The window showed only her parlor, dim and still, until a shadow stirred beside her. Small, childlike, bare feet. Then came the knock. 3 soft raps from inside the glass. Mama? The word struck like falling ash. The prayer book hit the floor. Mama? Again, gentler. Don't forget. Lightning split the sky, and in its glare the reflection burned, flames licking the frame. A child's silhouette turned to smoke. Then lavender filled the air. Sabrina stood where the fire had been, calm, unburned, hands folded as before.
You're not real,
Mercy whispered. I died, Sabrina said softly, but that doesn't mean I'm gone. Mercy's breath shook.
I'm remembering things I shouldn't.
You're remembering what was taken. Rain stilled outside. The silence after felt heavy enough to bow the floorboards.
I thought she died.
Mercy said.
Stillborn. They said I called down something too strong.
Sabrina's eyes softened. It wasn't your magic. Mercy lifted the volume from the floor, her sigil gleaming faintly.
I wrote this, but I don't remember it.
You were closer to the truth than they wanted, Sabrina said. They made you believe you caused the fire. Mercy's throat tightened.
I sealed the door with shame.
And in that moment, Sabrina said, someone took her.
Lenore.
Mercy breathed. She's alive, Sabrina said. The words cracked something open inside Mercy, pain and relief braided together.
Then I'll find her.
You will, Sabrina said. But first remember, even the fire. Her form blurred, thinning into smoke. I'll be near, she whispered. The rest is yours. The candle flared to life again. Mercy stood before the mirror, whole, trembling, illuminated. She placed the vellum in the prayer book and closed it with both hands.
Thank you for holding this.
She turned toward the door. Behind her, the mirror stayed dark, except for a single word that lingered in the glass. Mama. That was Season 1, Episode 1, Ashes and Invitations. In one day, the crew has taken in an unborn soul, a bound memory, and a prayer book that refuses to stay shut. Mercy has heard a voice call her Mama from the other side of the glass, and somewhere in the bones of the house, something has started to breathe again. Next week, a fox comes home with a mask that remembers his past a little too well. The doll shows Lucian what she's been carrying, and tea, salt, and secrets rise to the rooftop. If you enjoyed this episode, you can help the story travel by subscribing, leave a review, or sharing Tongue of the Serpent with a friend who loves haunted houses and stubborn souls. Until then, let the house be gentle with you.